On Saturday, President Donald Trump issued executive orders imposing extensive tariffs on imports from Canada, Mexico, and China, escalating a trade dispute that has the potential to reshape global supply chains and create instability in financial markets. However, on February 3, 2025, President Trump announced a temporary suspension of the proposed 25% tariffs on Mexican imports. This decision was made after a conversation with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, during which Mexico committed to deploying 10,000 National Guard troops to the U.S.-Mexico border to combat drug trafficking and illegal immigration. As part of the agreement, both countries will observe a one-month pause on the tariffs, providing an opportunity to negotiate further trade and border security measures. Leading the U.S. delegation in these negotiations are Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. The primary focus of these discussions is to strengthen border security and curb the flow of fentanyl into the United States. Shortly after this development, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced a series of new measures following what he described as a productive conversation with President Trump. Canada unveiled a $1.3 billion border security plan that includes the deployment of additional personnel, advanced surveillance technology, and new helicopters. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel will be assigned to reinforce Canada's border security efforts. Moreover, Canada will appoint a dedicated fentanyl czar, classify cartels as terrorist organizations, and implement a round-the-clock monitoring system for border activities. To further combat organized crime and fentanyl trafficking, a new intelligence directive will be introduced, backed by an additional $200 million in funding. In response, the U.S. has agreed to pause the proposed tariffs on Canadian goods for at least 30 days while both nations work together on these security measures. Despite these cooperative efforts, President Trump took to social media to criticize Canada's trade policies, specifically alleging that American banks are not permitted to operate in Canada. Canada doesn't even allow U.S. banks to open or do business there. What's that all about? Many such things. But it's also a drug war, and hundreds of thousands of people have died in the U.S., he stated. His comments caused confusion, as U.S. banks have operated in Canada for decades. Meanwhile, Canada responded swiftly and forcefully to Trump's tariffs. Prime Minister Trudeau announced retaliatory measures, imposing 25% tariffs on approximately 155 billion Canadian dollars, roughly 106 billion US dollars, worth of American goods. The targeted items span various sectors, ensuring broad economic impact while safeguarding Canadian industries. The full list of Canadian counter-tariffs was made public earlier today. The first category includes live poultry and poultry products, covering chickens, ducks, geese, turkeys, and guinea fowl under 185 grams in weight. Tariffs also apply to poultry meat and edible offal, both whole and in cuts, whether fresh, chilled, or frozen. These measures particularly affect products exceeding Canada's access commitment quotas. The United States has historically been a significant exporter of poultry meat to Canada, with U.S. broiler exports reaching approximately 26.89 million pounds, 13,100 metric tons, in 2019. Dairy products were also included in the tariff list. Tariffs will be imposed on concentrated and sweetened milk and cream with varying fat content, as well as yogurt and buttermilk, whether flavored or containing added fruit or cocoa. Additionally, whey products, whether concentrated or containing added sweeteners, will face increased duties. In 2021, U.S. exports of fluid milk, cream, and milk-based drinks to Canada amounted to $18.5 million, marking a significant increase from 2010 levels when adjusted for inflation. Canada's tariff rate quotas, TRQs, under the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, will also be impacted, affecting the amount of U.S. yogurt and buttermilk allowed into Canada. Eggs and egg products have also been targeted. Tariffs will apply to fresh, preserved, or cooked bird eggs, excluding those still in their shells. In 2023, U.S. exports of shell eggs and egg products to Canada were valued at around $50.7 million. Shell eggs alone accounted for $59 million, while egg products comprised $91.7 million, making up approximately 60.9% of the total export value. The retaliatory tariffs extend to various processed foods, including peanut butter, sauces, condiments, and seasonings. In 2022, the U.S. exported about $39.1 million worth of peanut butter to Canada, making it one of the primary destinations for American peanut butter exports. The U.S. is also a leading supplier of sauces and condiments to Canada, with total exports in this category reaching $262 million in 2022. The measures also impact the paper and packaging industry. Tariffs will be imposed on corrugated paper and paperboard cartons, boxes, cases, and other packing materials. Hygiene products such as toilet paper and facial tissues are also included. In 2019, U.S. exports of corrugated paper products to Canada were valued at $371 million, with a total weight of approximately 228 million kilograms. Additionally, Canada imported paper and paperboard articles worth about $55.24 billion from the U.S. in 2023, and its toilet paper imports from the U.S. totaled $1.26 billion in 2022. Plastic products, including plastic sacks, bags, stoppers, lids, caps, and other closures, will also be subject to tariffs. The United States exported about $15.41 billion worth of plastic goods to Canada in 2023. Similarly, furniture and bedding products, including wooden furniture designed for kitchens and bedrooms, as well as mattresses, quilts, and cushions, are affected. In 2021, U.S. exports of wooden office furniture to Canada totaled $93.2 million, while exports of furniture, bedding, and mattresses amounted to $4.9 billion. Additional tariffs will impact household appliances such as refrigerators, freezers, and washing machines, whether designed for household or commercial laundry use. In 2023, U.S. exports of these appliances to Canada were valued at about $1.06 billion. The tariffs also extend to miscellaneous goods, including candles, brooms, brushes, mops, and writing instruments. Ontario took further action by canceling a $100 million contract with Elon Musk's company, Starlink, which was intended to provide satellite internet services to 15,000 homes and businesses in remote areas. Ontario Premier Doug Ford stated that the province would not engage with businesses that harm its economy. Additionally, Ontario banned U.S. companies from securing provincial contracts, impacting an estimated $30 billion in annual procurement spending. Furthermore, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, LCBO, was ordered to remove American alcoholic beverages from its shelves, affecting nearly $1 billion in annual imports of U.S. wine, beer, spirits, and seltzers. British Columbia also implemented targeted measures by halting liquor purchases from Republican-led U.S. states that supported Trump's tariffs. Additionally, the province is exploring higher taxes on American tech and entertainment services while increasing agricultural and seafood exports to Asian markets. Nova Scotia responded by doubling highway tolls for U.S. commercial vehicles and halting American alcohol sales. Quebec reviewed procurement contracts to prioritize European and Asian suppliers, particularly in the pharmaceutical and construction sectors. The province also introduced subsidies for companies shifting away from American raw materials. The Northwest Territories followed suit by reassessing procurement policies to minimize purchases from U.S. companies while strengthening trade with indigenous businesses and Arctic nations. In response to these tensions, Trump suggested Canada should become the 51st U.S. state, asserting that the U.S. subsidizes Canada's existence. His remarks sparked outrage from Canadian leaders. The tariffs also caused significant market volatility, with global stock indices declining, the Canadian dollar reaching its lowest level since 2003, and oil prices fluctuating due to fears of supply disruptions. Although the U.S. reduced energy tariffs on Canadian imports to 10% instead of 25%, analysts warn that any tariff on Canadian crude could disrupt Midwestern refineries. The administration also closed the de minimis loophole, meaning American consumers will now face higher costs on low-cost goods imported from Canada, Mexico, and China. The trade dispute remains unresolved, with further negotiations expected in the coming weeks.